When we talk about the form of something in general, we are talking about its shape or structure. In music, form refers to the division of a composition into sections. Form is hierarchical. Any size composition can be divided into smaller and smaller structures. Just like changing the magnification on a microscope, we can choose to look at the smaller details, such as motives, phrases, and periods, or to back out and look at the larger, overarching basic formal model types, such as sonata or theme and variations. When we analyze a piece's form, we determine how the composition is arranged into phrases and sections. Then we compare our findings to a paradigm. Looking at the form of a piece allows us to compare it to the paradigm and then to other compositions. The value and interest in analyzing musical form comes in the discussion that occurs as we determine how the current piece fits within or deviates from the paradigm. In order to determine the type of composition we're looking at, we will have to determine where the formal divisions occur. Formal divisions are the boundaries between sections of a piece. Formal divisions can be determined by looking for the following musical clues: strong melodic and harmonic cadences, rhythmic factors or breaks such as rests, fermatas, or longer note durations, the use of repeat signs, changes in texture, new melodies, and key changes. We can use diagramming procedures to create a simple visual map of a piece of music. When we diagram a piece of music, the formal divisions are labeled with capital letters, beginning with A. If a section of music is repeated or appears later, then the same capital letter is used. If the next section contains completely new material, then a different letter is used. If a section contains similar material to a previous section, this is designated by adding a prime to the capital letter. If a section is made up of phrases, they are identified with lowercase letters. The same rules concerning repetition of formal divisions apply to phrases. It is also helpful when diagramming a piece of music to include measure numbers for the beginning of each phrase and section, as well as a label for each key and each cadence. The basic model that we will discuss in this module is binary form. A composition that is in binary form is one that consists of two main sections. A simple binary form is a small two-part form in which both sections are repeated. Both sections can be made up of a sentence, a period, or a phrase group. A phrase group is a series of phrases that occur one after another that do not have the cadential and melodic relationships of a period. Both sections can have one or more phrases. Both sections end with a cadence. The first section can be open, meaning that it cadences in a key other than the original home key, or it can be closed, meaning that it cadences in the original home key. The second section can be thematically contrasting or thematically related to the first section, but it does not restate the opening phrase of the first section in the home key. The second section can be similar in length to the first, but is most often longer than the first section. The formal diagram for a simple binary form can be A, B, or A prime, depending on how similar the second section is to the first. Repetitions can be readily apparent through the use of repeat signs or can be composed out in order to allow for variation within a repeat. Simple binary forms are found in Baroque suites, short songs, or can be nested within larger forms. Here is an example of a simple binary form, which demonstrates many of the characteristics just discussed. Let's listen to the example. Both sections are repeated. The entire piece is in E major without modulation. This means that both sections are closed. The first phrase is 2 measures long and ends with a tonicized half cadence. The second section is longer than the first section and consists of 2 phrases. The first has contrasting melodic material to the phrase of the A section, so it gets a new lowercase letter. This phrase ends with a half cadence. The second phrase also contains contrasting melodic material, so it gets a new lowercase letter. This phrase ends with a perfect authentic cadence. This is an example of a simple, closed binary form, and the formal diagram looks like this. Listen to the example again, this time only following along with the formal diagram. A rounded binary form is a binary form in which a restatement of phrases from the A section is presented after a contrasting phrase or phrases in the B section. The A section is often a period or sentence form and can be open or closed. The B section is typically comprised of 1 or more transitional phrases. A transitional phrase is characterized by instability or increased tension. Such phrases may involve modulations, quicker harmonic rhythm, sequences, expansions of dominant harmony through a dominant pedal or harmonic expansions, more active rhythmic textures, changes in texture, registral shifts, or fragmentation. The phrases of the B section often feel incomplete because they lead to a half cadence or elide into the next phrase. When 2 phrases are elided, it means that the ending of the first phrase is the beginning of the next phrase. It's like a small overlap of the 2 phrases. The return of the opening theme emphasizes a return to the tonic key and to harmonic stability. The amount of A that returns in the rounded binary is abbreviated. The formal diagram for rounded binary looks like this. Note that while there are 3 parts to the form, A, B, and the return of A, they are still contained within 2 repeated sections. Again, the repeat signs can be physically present on the score, or the composer can choose to write out repeated material in order to vary it. Let's look at an example of a rounded binary form. Here is what the piece sounds like. The first section of this piece begins in the key of D major. The first phrase lasts 4 measures and ends with an imperfect authentic cadence. The second phrase is an exact repeat of the first and ends in measure 8 with the same imperfect authentic cadence. Since the first section did not modulate, it is closed. The A section deviates from the standard model described earlier because it is not a period or sentence structure. Instead, it is simply a repeated phrase. The B section begins in the key of A major, the dominant of the home key of D major. The first and only phrase of the B section ends in measure 12 with an imperfect, authentic cadence. The B section is transitional due to its repetitive nature. The opening motive is repeated 2 more times before leading to the cadence. There is a brief right-hand link that leads into the return of the A section. A link is a connection that occurs after the cadence of one phrase and before the beginning of the next phrase. Specifically, it is a melodic continuation in one voice as the other voices drop out. Note that in this example, the right hand continues after the cadence as the left hand rests. We return to the key of D major, and only one of the 2 phrases from the A section is repeated in the return of the A section. The formal diagram for this piece of music looks like this. Listen to the piece again, this time following along with the formal diagram instead of the musical score. Familiarize yourself with the terminology of this module and with the layout of the formal diagram. All of the techniques that you learn in this module will be used in any future study of musical form.